A client said something once that stuck with me. When you asked what was happening in my body, I realized I'd been clenching my jaw for the past 10 minutes. I had no idea. That question changed the whole conversation. One simple question. That's all it took to shift everything. Not because the question was fancy or clever, but because it took what I noticed and handed it back to her as an invitation to discover something about herself. Here's the principle at work. Your observations become valuable when you hand them back to the client through questions. What you notice is simply raw material. The client is the one who transforms it into meaningful insight. The right question at the right moment can shift the entire direction of a coaching conversation, opening doors the client didn't even know existed. But here's what's important. You're not telling them what you think their behavior means. You're creating space for them to discover the meaning. That's where the power lies. We're still working with markers 6.04, notices, acknowledges, and explores. Today we're focusing on that explore piece. How do you actually turn what you observe into actionable coaching moments that create breakthrough thinking? Because noticing something isn't enough. Acknowledging it isn't enough. The exploration is where the client's learning happens. It's where your observations stop being yours and become theirs. Let me give you 3 concrete ways to work with what you notice. First, name and question. State what you noticed, then invite exploration with a direct question. You said you don't ever want to do that again. Tell me more about that. Second, name and reflect. Simply mirror back what you heard or saw, then hold space in silence. You don't ever want to do that again. Then wait. Let them respond in their own time. Third, name and invite. Express curiosity about what you observe, creating an opening for discovery. I'm curious about what happened for you right there. All 3 approaches work. Choose based on the moment. Now I want to talk about something coaches often underestimate: silence. Sometimes the most powerful coaching move is to name what you see and simply wait. Resist the urge to fill the space. Let the impact of your observation land with the client. Give them room to sit with it and process what it means. Trust the process. The client will start talking when they're ready, and what emerges is often deeper than what a follow-up question would have surfaced. Silence creates the necessary space for genuine discovery and insight to arise naturally. Don't rush past it. Let me show you what this looks like in practice. Your client makes a face when mentioning a colleague. You might say, your expression changed when you mentioned Sarah. What's there? Notice what you're not doing. You're not interpreting the expression. You're not saying, it seems like you have frustration about Sarah. You're inviting them to explore their own reaction. Or this one, your client's voice suddenly gets quieter. Your voice just got quieter. What's that about? Simple, direct. You notice the shift, you name it simply, and you create space for them to discover what's underneath. That's the key principle. Always create space for the client to discover the meaning. Don't tell them what it means. Now, let me flag some traps to watch out for. The first one, interpreting instead of inviting. Don't tell clients what their observations mean. Hand the observation back and let them explore what it means to them. Your interpretation limits their discovery. Second trap, moving too quickly. When you notice something significant, don't rush past it to the next topic. Give it space and time. The most powerful insights often need a moment to emerge. And third, commenting on everything. Not every observation needs to be explored. Use discernment about what's worth bringing to the client's attention. Quality over quantity creates focused, impactful coaching. So here's what I want you to remember. What you notice is raw material. It's the starting point, not the end point. Your job is to hand it back, return observations as questions or reflections that create space. And then trust the client. Wait and allow them to transform your observation into their insight. This is where coaching gets exciting. You notice something others would miss. You name it simply in their language. You create space for discovery, and you watch them arrive at understanding that changes everything. So far, we've been focusing on individual moments, what you notice in real time. But there's another layer of listening that's equally important, integrating words, tone, and body language to understand the full message your client is communicating.